First, I want to turn to Ty Cobb. He represented President Trump in matters related to the Russia investigation, and he joins me now on the phone. Welcome, Ty. Thank you so much for being with us.
First, well, thank you, Tanya. Nice to be with you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to ask, what did you make of the special counsel's findings, and how did Barr's initial summary of it compare?
Well, I think the initial summary compares very favorably with the report. The initial summary, frankly, was 3 pages longer than the regulations require, because the regulations only require a notification to Congress that the report has been received, and a brief summary of the principal conclusions. Plus, it's totally discretionary with the Attorney General as to whether or not he provides any of the report, and he's not obligated legally to do so, but he elected to do so, as he said, because of the extreme public interest.
But do you think it was an accurate portrayal of the report now that you've seen the report itself?
Yeah, very much so.
And when was the last time you discussed the investigation with President Trump or his lawyers?
So I have intermittent discussions with some of the lawyers, but I haven't been, really in the fighter pilot seat since I left the White House last June.
All right. And President Trump's attorney, Jay Sekulow, said in an interview earlier that he got an early version of the Mueller report on Tuesday. What do you think of that? Do you think he should have seen it that early?
Oh, certainly. I mean, the law is very clear that under the Ethics in Government Act, somebody who is the subject of a report like this has an opportunity to review and comment in advance. And likewise, it was important that personal counsel see it so that they could have discussions with White House counsel about any executive privilege claims that might be made. And it's really highly unusual that executive privilege was not invoked. It's consistent with the cooperative, transparent approach that the White House elected from the start by voluntarily producing every witness and all the documents. But had the White House not waived executive privilege, there wouldn't have been a Volume 2 to this report, because almost all the information in Volume 2 is subject to executive privilege.
Well, I do want to play what Attorney General William Barr said earlier about
Sure.
White House cooperation with the special counsel investigation. Let's listen.
The White House fully cooperated with the special counsel's investigation, providing unfettered access to campaign and White House documents, directing senior aides to testify freely, and asserting no privilege claims. And at the same time, the president took no act that in fact deprived the special counsel of the documents and witnesses necessary to complete his investigation.
I do want to point out the report says that the president, did provide written answers to questions on Russia-related topics, but he never sat down for an interview with the special counsel or answered questions related to obstruction. Do you think the president should have, and is that an example of full cooperation?
Well, yes, it is, actually, because the legal standard is whether or not the special counsel had adequate information from other sources and could demonstrate a compelling need for that. And as the report itself concedes, the special counsel's office decided not to issue a subpoena because they did have sufficient information from other sources.
So can you describe what the process was like when you were in the White House of handling questions from the special counsel?
Certainly. I mean, it was, I think people would be astonished to know how collaborative as opposed to adversarial it was. Everybody had an interest in, doing this professionally and appropriately for the country. There were disagreements, but they were never personal. There were negotiations, and that once it was agreed, what would be provided, there was every effort to make that happen quickly. All the documents were provided in, a period of 90 days or so once an agreement was reached as to what documents were desired, and the witness interviews were concluded well, let's see. I think I was first asked for witnesses in mid to late August, and all the interviews of, the couple of dozen White House employees who testified were completed by early January.
Well, it's nice to hear that behind the scenes it sounded so harmonious, because publicly it certainly appeared adversarial. The president was still calling the investigation a witch hunt and the greatest political hoax of all time. Do you think, having seen the report now and seen how many charges, indictments, and guilty pleas have come out of it, how would you characterize the Mueller investigation?
Well, I've never said it was a hoax, and I have great respect for Bob Mueller and many on his team, and have known I've known Bob since 1983, when we were both federal prosecutors in different offices, and have a high regard for him. I think the resulting report is professional, thorough. He has probably 10 times the tools, if not 100 times the tools, to investigate than Congress does, and I don't think he could have done a more thorough job with the thousands of interviews, subpoenas, and the millions of documents reviewed, and the 500 witnesses that they talked to.
I can just imagine the boxes and boxes of interview notes that must be somewhere.
A lot of dead trees.
That's right. All right. Well, former White House lawyer Ty Cobb, we thank you for your time.
No, it was my pleasure. Thank you.